Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we have a special guest, George, who is a trader and a researcher and also like founder of KZNRES. And today he will talk about the metaverse and open economies in games. And more specifically, he will talk about how there is like a value and potential in what we hold in games, and how is that going to change in the future with some interesting technology, and how this meetup will look like is that he will first do kind of like an introduction, and like explain a little bit more about like how like this metaverses and economies will look in the future. And then after that we will have an open discussion where I invite you all like to like bring up questions and maybe like pose some like theoretical questions or some philosophical, and then at the end of this meetup we will also have like some unofficial kind of like more kind of like show and tell in our Discord server, which I will post later. And now, without further ado, I will just give the word to George.
Yeah, thanks. I will give a little bit of, let's say, an overview, actually, to get the terms straight so that nobody's confused about what I later talk about. Basically, I'll run through some terms, and I'll present a bit of like a philosophical concept before I dive into certain details of how where the gaming industry is heading and what's probably going to happen over the next 2 to 5 years. So I'll start with the concepts. I guess most of you heard about this kind of NFT hype. NFTs are these non-fungible tokens. What it means is that they are a representation, like a binary representation of a certain digital item or physical item. It can be both at times, and it kickstarted with initially in 2017 with a couple projects like in crypto, like CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks. At the time, it wasn't such a big thing, but now they became like sort of OG items, especially the CryptoPunks. I back in the days bought like some CryptoPunk at like $20, sold it at 200, and thought I made a killing. Now each of them, like the lowest is at I don't know, 30 or 40K, and the highest, the rarest ones are like these aliens. There's 9 of them, alien punks, and they cost somewhere between 9 to 15 million. These numbers might seem like crazy. I mean, why should you value a purely digital thing at this price? But I'll explain later why it's actually not that insane. I guess you're familiar with the concept of crypto, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, blockchains, and what they do. But I'll give a little bit of a story. In the case of Bitcoin, it's a currency that you sort of, the only use case for that is that I can send it from point A to point B. I can send it from my wallet to somebody else. But in the case of Ethereum, it's like programmable money. So you can do a lot of things with Ethereum. You can use smart contracts to do, basically a bunch of things. But in the case of I'm not going to cover everything in there, and it's not that it's done. Like, there are use cases that are popping almost every couple weeks that people never thought about. But in the case of gaming, the initial story of why Ethereum was created, there was this, there's this guy who's one of the founders of Ethereum, the main one, Vitalik Buterin. I think most of the people that are in crypto know his name. And initially, why he intended to create Ethereum was because of a game. He was playing World of Warcraft at the time, and at some point his account got hacked, and all of his gear was stolen from there. So basically, he thought, like, what if you can build this general purpose blockchain that could ensure that the property that you have in your game, is with you. And even from the very start, early times of computing and gaming, people thought about like open cyberspace, basically that no single entity is controlling your ownership in these games, but it developed in certain different directions. So right now we are seeing that it's rolling back to the initial vision, in which like the properties, the digital properties in the cyberspace, basically, are becoming, are coming back to you, and not an entity like Blizzard or Epic Games or whatever other game development studio is behind these games. So, okay, a slight story on what are NFTs. Back in, they have been there like for, I don't know, something like 10 years in different aspects, but it kicked off around 2017, and it became really mainstream stuff maybe like December last year. So many people heard about NFTs December last year because of these crazy sales. Like, okay, digital pictures, JPEG files are selling for crazy amounts of money. And in my view, there's nothing extraordinary in that. My philosophical approach towards this is that people in different generations value different things at certain prices. So if we take, like, starting with the millennials, people that were on kind of the transitional phase between, okay, physical things are, they matter, then it moved into sort of digital things matter. I mean, you're playing video games, you're spending so much time in there, and sometimes, whatever you have in these games, you value them much more than what you have outside of the games. I mean, in the real physical game, so to say. So basically, you might value, more the items that you kind of mined and got in a specific PS5 game, more than the PS5 itself. So you might lose the PS5, but you don't want to lose the account and access to that specific game with these specific assets that you have there. So the next big thing in crypto land and blockchain land would be integration of this kind of open economies through the usage of blockchains into mainstream games. There are mechanisms to do that. I mean, it could be done if there is a will tomorrow, like, or I would say even yesterday. But anyway, it has to sort of come from, I think, smaller studios that have the vision and want to push that type of narrative forward. Then the big studios will catch up to this trend. but it will not probably happen through the big studios. Now, besides that, Epic Games got about $1 billion last week. They raised that money to research. I mean, to do research and development into this whole concept of the metaverse and how to implement transferable items from one game to the other. You know, and I mean, surely it will happen through the mechanism of like NFTs. Because it's just like a representation, like sort of a digital passport of a certain item that you own in the game, and it opens up the economy in a way that if you are playing and if you are getting certain gear in these games, you can transfer the rights to these assets to somebody else, or you can sell them on an open market, and nobody is there to sort of interfere with that. There are problems with third-party markets right now. I mean, I know a couple of my friends do, I would say, play to get certain items. They open like loot boxes and stuff like that. My gaming story ended at, I don't know, maybe the PlayStation 2. I would say even Super Mario, but anyway, I did play some games after that, but it surely ended well before this whole trend of multiplayer online gaming started. But I'm really interested in the field, and specifically, you know, I'm interested in how it sort of collides with the crypto universe, with this type of open economy. So I think, you know, just to little bit zoom out of this discussion, the way I would prefer it would go is like, you know, sort of a bar talk. So if you have any questions, you can, you know, unmute yourself, I guess, and ask them at any point. But I will not have a you know, a PowerPoint presentation. I think this stuff is kind of boring and basically wastes the attention of people listening. So we're gonna do it bar talk style. Okay, so with what I meant by this title of like open economies and open metaverse and open virtual economies is that no single entity, no single studio has control over this stuff. They might be developing the games themselves, and they might be adding on to the game some elements, but where they gain is not from the monetization on you know, closed marketplaces where you have to buy their gaming currency, like is the case with I mean, many games out there, whether it's like some gold or in the case of Fortnite, they also have some internal currency. It could be just about any currency, but it could be convertible to any other. And besides that, the items within the game could be used just within that game, or they can also hold value in other games, which is quite an interesting aspect of it. And you know, people might be much more engaged and willing to invest their money and time into a specific game just because it's like it has it also has transferable value to another game. So to cover up a little bit, if you want to see you know, kind of underground what is happening and where this industry might be heading, you can check out some places. I mean, some social spaces in crypto. You have these. I mean, I wouldn't call them games. They're just virtual social spaces. One is called Decentraland. Another one is called Somnium. Third one is Cryptovoxels, and you know, Sandbox also. These you know, projects sort of would kind of open up your mind and show you a certain way of how really like AAA games might develop. For now, obviously, they are sort of okay. We have a question. Okay, I will. So the question is, what is your moral standpoint on this economy affecting the addiction of players, specifically with no cap on item value? I mean, you know, addictions are addictions. I think if somebody feels that they are in this sort of state of mind, then you know, they most certainly should seek some help. If your friends see that you are in this state of mind, then they should help you out in that as well. But you know, people are addicted generally to different things, and if you have an addictive personality, you will get addicted to something. Depends on what you pick. And I don't think that whether it's like games or other stuff, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. It's just that it's maybe a psychological problem that has to be dealt with. But you know, people in the next 2 to 5 years, I think there'll be much more gamers than there is right now, especially when this space opens up for play to earn type of games. Games in which you kind of make money, which is like your job essentially. I mean, we saw that a bunch of people, like you know, streamers, influencers, whatever, they're monetizing on it. But we will see also the simple guys, sort of, or simple person, even when starting to play a game, he will, or he or she still will be making money out of these games. Maybe not big money, but kind of it might go sort of scalable. Yeah, I think, guys, it will be easier if you. I would prefer a conversation in which you just unmute yourself and ask me the question, so that I don't have to pause to read them. Can we? Okay, can we expect game companies start selling OG game characters, like Nintendo selling OG Super Mario character for 100 million? I mean, they will be selling. I don't think that it would be in that sense that you're selling sort of the rights to a certain character. It might be the case also, like you can conceptually have like a you know, sort of a contract agreement within the NFT that if you're buying that Super Mario character, you know, you would claim trademark rights on it wherever it's like used, whether it's like through you know, selling merchandise or games or whatever. It's possible. But I don't think they would do that, because why would Nintendo, for instance, sell Super Mario? I mean, they can. So I don't discount that it's not possible. It is. We will see if it will happen. Okay, and yeah, it would be interesting if it does. Okay. If I didn't answer your question, ask again. Okay. So yeah.
George, can I ask like one question, like before you continue? Like, sure. You said that there would be like, it's like all like normal person like could like earn like some currency in game, and then it could like sell for like, let's say a real currency, like in air quotes, like in kind of like real money, like that we said. Like
yeah, it depends what real means, but
yeah, exactly. It depends. We talked before, like what real actually means right now. But I'm like asking, like, how would you like? I mean, what's let's say your standpoint, or like what's your opinion? Like, how do you like prevent then this kind of like sweatshops or like sweat farms in like Korea or India, like where they're like kind of like
you
farming,
don't
like
really. The mere fact that it is open for everybody to use. So the sweatshop factor comes from the fact that you have a closed economy, in which like because these things were happening with like I don't know certain stories of Chinese prisoners, you know, farming gold and World of Warcraft and such games and whatever. These things happen in closed economies. When you can launch, when you can log in from your own account and start doing things, the less you have information asymmetry between like people and entities, the more opportunity you have for the individual, so to say, to play and just monetize it for himself, because it's not such a hard thing. Like, but in the case of I don't know, in the case of Chinese prisoners that are sitting there, maybe if you think about these fringe kind of cases, like rare cases, yeah, I guess there will be all the time some sort of ways that some human beings will exploit other human beings, but it doesn't mean that this stuff shouldn't exist. Human beings in general are exploiting others on a spectrum of things. It's not just in gaming,
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to hear like what's your opinion if like that could be preventable. But I agree with you. It's really hard to like control or even to like prevent these kind of things. And
yeah, generally, let's say both research theses and investment theses also is around kind of. I don't try to engage in social engineering kind. The world works as it works, in the sense like human beings are going to be human beings still. They have their flaws, their benefits, and it is what it is. So with that kind of assumption, I operate later on with like how is a certain technology maybe important in this societal environment. So it's kind of and games are really a representation of that. And if you have open economies, then ultimately, I think what we would end up at is a bit of like, how to say, it's sad to say, but anyway, the games themselves will end up, economically speaking or financially, kind of representative of what you have in the real world, which is like some Pareto law, in which like 20% have 80% of the wealth within the games, stuff like that. Now, you can still play around with like some inside game economics and put some filters and whatever, but the natural course, if you are talking about an open economy, it will be, in my opinion, like this direction, which is based on like the most talented people will amass, I don't know, the most of the resources within that game.
Thanks. Thanks for the answer.
Can I ask also a question? It's
Sure.
kind of a follow-up to what you were just talking about. So if I understood you correctly, you will be able to earn like money in these games just by playing. And how far can you go with that? Like, is this like a real job possibility?
I think so. Right now you have a number of games which you can play and you can earn money. If you understand the dynamics of these games, and if you kind of invest your time to understand sort of how these things work, you can do it. Like there is the main one in crypto land is sort of this Axie Infinity. There are people in Vietnam and Thailand that are making 3 times the average salary in that country, just by playing this game. And there are like these communities forming around these games. Axie Infinity is sort of a game that is similar in some way to Pokemon. You get these little animals and you start, some strategic battles in there. Each of these characters has certain abilities. They have certain characteristics, and you know, for you to start playing, you have to buy 3 of them, and then you can do daily quests. From the daily quests, you are sort of farming this SLP potions that you need in game to breed these characters, and you need also these potions to level up and you know. So the point is that there is internal dynamics in the game. You are mining a certain currency, and you are buying characters, you are buying certain items, and you know, people are earning a certain living out of it right now. But you can imagine that if this if these same economics are applied to much more engaging games. I mean, I'm not saying that this game is not engaging. It is for some people, but if you think of I don't know, some sort of Fortnite or World of Warcraft type of game in which you have this style of economics applied, then it could be as good as a full-time job. You know, it depends on actually what you do in there and how much time you spend. So you might earn something like $200 or 5,000. It's just dependent on your engagement, so to say.
Yeah, that's true. But let's say there's more and more young people playing games now, and if you like take that group, what would you say? What % of people in this group would be able to like make a living, in your prediction?
Obviously, it depends on the place where they live. So let's say whatever is needed to live in Vietnam is not what is needed to live in Slovenia, for instance. So for some people, it will help them get by. In other places, not that much, but it's also dependent on the traffic. So in the case of, like, let's say Axie Infinity, it has something like 200,000 players, which is in terms of gaming not that much. I mean, it's an okay number of users, but it's not that huge. And the more people you have participating in an economy, the bigger the economy, the bigger the pay, obviously. But the bigger the pay, it doesn't mean that it will be directed towards you if you're like sort of a noob in the game. You might reach that level, but you would still have to work your way up the scale.
All right, thanks.
Tom, you have any questions?
I will. I will have.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing that we want to announce with Tom, I don't know if he told you, we have this Reveries bar that unfortunately, cannot be open. Everybody knows why. So what we did to sort of circumvent the governmental policies is we launched NFTs of the beers that you guys can buy. And then later on, at some point, if we are open, maybe in 10 years, you can come and claim these beers. So to say that, basically, I don't think they're going to hold us any much longer, like this, but we'll see how it goes. Yesterday, I thought that I mean, some friends told me that they opened up all the bars except from Ljubljana. Then we went to the coast, and basically everything was closed as well. So anyway, I don't know. Maybe they're running some sort of scam and telling every city that it's just your city that cannot open the bars, and the other city can, Then you go to the other, it's the same fucking shit. Anyway, so back to this metaverse stuff. I will send some content if you guys are interested, sort of blogs and things to follow. But generally, let's say from our end, we are interested in people that are interested in the metaverse and that have some ideas, or might be developing these ideas over the course of, I don't know, next year or so, we can invest in this stuff. We can bring some advisors to the project as well. So if, as far as I understood, the audience in here is like gamers and game developers, we would be interested to collaborate if you guys head into this direction.
Can I ask one question here at this point, George? Like, what do you think? Like, it's difference, like, because we saw like this kind of like not similar thing, but like in closed format, like said in closed economy, like when they were like with CS:GO, right? When they were like selling like skins, and there was like this kind of like trading going on, and also like gambling and so on. Like,
yeah,
like what do you think? Like that's the main like benefit or like main key that's like will like that will make these things obsolete. Let's say like this, like trading on like Steam, it will make obsolete, but and will make like
I
this
don't
open.
think I don't think it will make them obsolete. I just think it will be a different type of gaming experience. So some entities will still choose to control the internal dynamics of the game, and maybe it's not good for them even to have an open economy within their virtual space. But for some other games, it might be a good thing. It really depends on the game itself. And obviously it depends also on the willingness of this game development studio. So yeah.
So like so guess what I'm like hearing it, like that in some kind of like systems, like the game developers would be kind of like a gods, right? If you take it like this, right? So because like people would work for like their like virtual money, right? And we would have like this kind of like 80-20 split, right? Like the best get the most, and then you will have like next year would be like game developers, or like which will control the whole ecosystem, or like the whole economy, right? Or
yeah, but you know, if even without the whole crypto element, you know, if you look at games like Roblox, I mean, as far as I know about it, which is not that much, but as far as I understand, it's a game where people can make you know, other mini games, sub games, whatever, and then they can monetize on this stuff. So you know, how to say, the way I look at it is that crypto is sort of a native currency for the cyberspace. You know, not if, but when it scales to the level of transactions that are needed within games and other use cases, you know, it's only natural to apply this stuff, because the other shit is very, very clunky. Sort of, if you, whenever you are using traditional finance methods, you know, it's just like layers upon layers of fintech and layers upon layers of startups that are solving on top of other startups, and basically you have this huge clunky machine that somehow should transfer value from one point to the other, and then it also sometimes allows you to do so and sometimes no. So with this type of crypto mechanisms, it's just like it's a product of the internet. It's a product of the digital world. So it's you know, it should be the currency that is used within games if you have an open economy. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
No, I think you answered this question. Like it was more in line with the like game developers, like game development companies be like playing like the gods in this kind of like,
I think there will be like some base also there will be some base protocol in terms of like, let's treat the game as like this protocol. Okay, there is this economy, sort of, there are these rules. Some other people, some other developers can jump in and make like break this game into like some other mini games, and I think it will open up a market for you know, people, developers that are just how to say, remotely contributing to these things, and they will be able also to monetize in this open economy without really being hired by some company, but just by doing the job themselves. And at this point, I guess you would see a bunch of kids that are really curious also start to make money when they're I don't know, 7 or 6 or 5, and nobody would open a bank account for them, but they can surely have their crypto wallet, no problem.
And one question, like, to follow up, what do you think, like, are there any, like, do you see, like, already, like, see, like, some of, like, big players, or, like, what are the big players, like, in this kind of, like
well, Ubisoft is heading into this direction. I don't know if you remember Atari. Maybe you are young for the Atari days, but Atari is also kind of big on this stuff, and I think they are seeing sort of an opportunity to reconfigure their company and come back with some firepower, because right now nobody knows what Atari is. I mean, and what Atari was.
Exactly.
Yeah, so some blast from the past, you can expect that, or some totally new companies that just kind of try to head in this direction.
Okay, thanks. And maybe one more question, like, it's more like philosophical, like now you said, like, we will, like, earn money inside of the, like, games, or, like, inside of, like, virtual world, like we already have, like, all of this vast, like, open world, like, games and so on. Like, when do you think, like, that we will, like, completely kind of, like, transition, like, or do you even, like, vision that we completely transition into this kind of, like, virtual space? Like,
time scale wise, I would say something between 2 and 5 years. 5 years as a maximum. I think. Look, back in my days, if let's say when I was, I don't know, 15, somebody would tell me that some people on the internet will be making money out of streaming how they play games, I would not believe that. So now it's a reality, and I think this reality will be sort of democratized for smaller scale players. You don't necessarily need to be like a hotshot in a specific game, whether it's Fortnite or CS or whatever else. So yeah, I remember also the days when we were kind of playing in these network cafes with either Dota or Command and Conquer, Red Alert, these type of things, and we were just doing it for fun. But hey, man, if you can earn money as well while doing this, I mean, it's a good incentive to also perfect your skills, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
And then an entire economy forms around that, where you have, like, sort of guilds that finance players that want to play a specific game. Maybe they give them some gear. Maybe you can rent the gear for 2 hours. Maybe you have a boss to kill there. I don't know. But there's a bunch of cases that open up, and items in the virtual world, might be as valuable as items in the physical world. Why not? Because anyway, they are right now. I mean, many people hold these things much more to, like, value than maybe their apartments. Even prior to crypto, there were these spaceships. I think we talked with Tom about this topic. These spaceships that were built and sold for, I don't know, $500,000 bucks.
Star Citizen, right? Is it Star Citizen, or what was the game called?
I don't remember really the game. Tom knows very well because he was playing it. So maybe he can tell us a little bit about this.
EVE Online had a really strong economy. Yeah, one of the first really strong economies in game. Like, I even know people who made a living out of this, and this was back in 2003, 4. So we're talking more than 15 years back. And there have been entire, let's say, school groups in Russia making a living out of this. There were, like, people employed in their 20s running an alliance in EVE Online and making a living out of mining the resources in there and selling them on the black market back then. and spaceships and titans and all this stuff. Yeah.
So if you can imagine like an open market, then it's like you know, fair game for everybody. You don't have to go around
sneaking on the black market.
Yeah. You know, if for such a person who has built something within the economy of his favorite game, if you ask him, for instance, I mean, would you have rather your apartment burn or your you know, stuff in the game, you know, to lose the stuff in the game, you know, he would certainly say like, I'd rather have my apartment burned. And it's a thing. You can't be judgy about that. I mean, if people have people perceive value in different things in different ways. So there's nothing bad about even perceiving you know, value in a JPEG at like 69 million, which is the case of Beeple. You know, he sold this JPEG, which essentially is not. It's actually not this picture that he sold. He sold a certain idea. He sold a meme, which is that Beeple for the last 13 years, every day, regardless of his condition, was producing one piece of digital artwork. And he sold the 5,000 days, everyday artwork for this 69 million. So the person that bought it was not buying the, you know, digital thing. He was buying the idea that you know, if you work every single day, you know, you will perfect your skills and stuff like that. Ideas are valuable. Memes are valuable as well. I mean, you can look at Dogecoin, for instance. It's a joke, but it's like 55 billion or something in market cap. And it's sort of a statement. It's like a statement from the millennials that got fucked by the boomers, and basically they're saying, okay, we're gonna have like a fuck you money attitude, and we're gonna pump Dogecoin. So why not?
So is it ever considered? Well, there's gonna be this open market now, let's say. And there's a lot of these jobs where people are farming items for money, but these jobs take away from other jobs that actually like do something else in the world, right? So
I mean, to a certain extent, I guess, but if you look at the market and whatever is there in terms of jobs, but this is my personal stand, and it's very subjective, but most of the office jobs are complete bullshit. You know, people maybe don't need even to do this stuff, even if they are, I don't know. I mean, there are some essential jobs, people that are actually working on the field and producing things that you need, you know, things that show up in your supermarket or your car or whatever. People that are factually building things. And then you have a bunch of office jobs that really don't matter. I mean, they can be substituted with just software. And the only reason why it's not being done is just like to maintain some societal order. You know, some person has a job and whatever. If you look at bureaucrats, for instance, I mean, I don't know what actually they're doing there. They don't know what they're doing, and you know.
I agree, and that's where I was actually heading. So if you look at all these jobs that are going to be automated, could this be like a way out for these people?
Yeah, I think so.
Might lose jobs otherwise.
I mean, when people talk about like things like universal basic income and whatever, I think this universal basic income would be they would get it from just playing games and entertainment type of stuff. I mean, besides that, there's maybe some jobs to be done on the internet in general. Besides the games, everybody understood that actually remote work works. You know, it's not that bad. You know, most of the people can actually work from their home without having to commute for like wasting. I mean, depends on the country, obviously, but let's say in Moscow, where I was living, like you commute for 2 hours to work and back from work another hour and a half or two, depending on like the time. But anyway, here it is 4 hours wasted per day. why not spend these 4 hours working from your home?
Maybe on an additional note here, that this debate is that you triggered on George. Even if you're playing a game, you might actually generating real value from the people you are interacting in the game. So also those people who are actually playing from home. Okay, one thing depends on the game, of course. One thing is sitting all alone in a cave and mining the stuff and just pressing one button. But the game might be rewarding you for interacting and socializing with people for something that is actually valuable. Also, on top of the fact that you are getting entertained from playing the game, you can also be doing something good for the community. You're actually creating a sense of value in the community.
Yeah. I mean, look, in general, businesses and whatever earns money, it's kind of it's linked to societal preferences of what is valuable. So if you have a bunch of people, if you have an audience of players or potential players that perceive value in what you're doing, I mean, you can't deny that this is a marketplace. You can either sell merch to them, or you game and stream, and they also pay you money for that. I mean, so it is an economy, and what's bad in that? It's like, I mean, you just have to accept the world as it is right now and where it's heading, and certainly it's heading in the direction where this gaming economy will be growing and growing, especially when people are at home.
But potentially you could also have like a split player base all of a sudden. So you would have people who really play the game for like sellers, and people who are buyers that have like two really different skill sets. Because people who play a lot would be completely different from other ones.
Exactly.
That would also be like a huge divide between them, right?
Yeah, it might be. So we'll see how it goes. Actually, I put much thought into what can be, but we don't really know how it will end up. I mean, there are certain mechanics that are pointing that we're heading into this direction, and it will be interesting to see how it goes.
I might again bring up the example from EVE Online. I can talk about that because I spent quite some time in there. Just a similar thing, there were the part of the people who were mining the resources and getting the capital, and then there was a part of people who were consuming these resources and fighting the battles and so on.
But to compare it to like real life, it's also like that. Some people buy your time. They hire you, and they unload they pay you the money, and they unload the work on you. Okay, so this is essentially the same, and it will be the same in the gaming industry. Some people with capital will pay you for the resources that you mine. I mean, just like you pay other people, for the gold that they mined, or for whatever other resources, for the gas, for the bills that you're paying at home. Essentially, you are paying for somebody else who did the job. The electricity doesn't come from the socket. There's a process behind it. People forget that.
I might have a bit of more technical question. So one way is to think about, okay, we have games as we have today, and then you have, let's say, pieces of blockchain technology, like assets that are living as let's say a small part of these games, and maybe these assets are transferable. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what about whole games made on blockchain, made on smart contracts? So
no, actually, I would say, I mean, I want one of the, sorry, it's Valery calling me anyway. So I would address a couple aspects in here. What will happen next, like games that are built on crypto economics and blockchains and whatever. In that context, I mean, blockchains can be defined in many ways, but in the context of games, let's kind of agree that the blockchain is this record of deeds of who owes who and who has what. Okay, so in that context, basically, if the economy of a certain game is a valuable economy to many people, then it becomes a thing. Then basically what you can do, even with your internal in-game items, which is actually what is happening in like this crypto art stuff, you can get a loan by mortgage, by basically putting as a collateral certain item in that game. Let's say that you have some sword in some sort of game, you know, that is perceived as valuable. It has these abilities and whatever. You need a loan in real life to get money and you know, do your thing. But you don't really, you're not really willing to sell that item. You can put it as collateral and receive a loan. And that thing is happening with this NFT crypto art on the, let's say, recognized crypto art pieces. Let's say that they're recognized in the community that they have value. People will put, they provide liquidity for the loan that you are getting, and then you have to repay the loan. If you don't repay the loan, you will lose the collateral, which is as it works in the normal you know, system. So I think games will converge more and more with how physical life works.
Maybe. Sorry, Istok, I would just want to follow up on this.
Go ahead.
Because I wanted to rephrase a little bit the question. Yeah, of course, blockchain can be used as a record of assets, but you also have smart contracts. So you can use blockchain as a system to encode the rules, how these assets are operating between themselves. You know? So in this kind of sense, so in sense of smart contracts, you could write a game on smart contracts. So not just please give me a second. So not just on the assets that you're holding, but also on the dynamics, how these assets interact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, potentially you can do that, but you know, you should keep in mind that blockchains are just deficient databases. They are not built for the purpose of you know, efficiency. They are built for the case of consensus, that everybody agrees that, okay, this guy owns this and that, and you know, they have a certain purpose, which is not a maximum efficient database. I mean, maximum efficient database, you can use Amazon Cloud or Microsoft Azure or
Actually, you came to the essence of my question, which was there are likely technical limitations. I guess if the game was slow paced, it can work to some degree, but if it's a real-time game, the technology doesn't allow it yet because it's not efficient enough yet. Actually,
it does allow it right now, but it has to be integrated in a bunch of, let's say, since it's not touching that many games for now, it's touching mostly things related to finance, like this whole decentralized finance stuff, DeFi. Basically, you have layer 2 protocols, layer 2 solutions that allow you to transact at a much higher speed. You know, so stuff like you know, from layer 1 ranging from 20 to 50 transactions per second to something like 20,000 or 100,000 transactions per second. So it is there. You just need the games to pop up to fill that gap. Because I don't know if you remember, but the whole virtual reality stuff, you know, it has been hyped since the 80s. And basically the problem was like, okay, shitty hardware, shitty software, and it was like a game of you know, catch up between hardware and software. Not enough software for this shitty hardware. Hardware got better, better software, hardware got better, more software on the market. You could, but at this point we reached, some decent games are in there. I mean, I played this Half-Life Alyx, man. I was like, what the fuck is happening in here? It was crazy. Yeah, I had to take the helmet off after like 30 minutes because it was unbelievable.
Yeah, when you were talking about loans, you mentioned items being recognized by the community. Would you like tell us how these items become recognized? Is it about just volume, or is it something else?
No, I mean, an item in a specific game is recognized as like a valuable thing, like certain gear set is recognized as a valuable thing. And basically some other people can provide liquidity for the loan on that item because they will be getting interest themselves. So if you are paying the loan, if let's say somebody put that item and you provided the liquidity for the loan, okay, and that somebody is paying the loan, then you are getting the interest on top, which is like a normal financial institution would. And then if he doesn't pay, then whatever liquidation price is on the market, like whatever you sell it at, the collateral, is what you get proportionally to what you put in. So let's say you were like putting 10% of the liquidity of that loan, then you get 10% of whatever it's sold at.
So how would you go about checking if the item is valuable then? You have to go to the game or to game community?
I mean, it's a community thing. Like obviously the ones that will be putting the liquidity are the ones that are familiar with the game and the asset itself. So it's not gonna be, me popping in out of nowhere and putting some liquidity on something I don't know nothing about. It's all about these communities.
You need to believe that this can be sold eventually, or you need to believe that this has value for someone.
Yeah, it has value on this marketplace in that specific game currently. If it's selling, I don't know, at $500, yeah, it's worth $500, and everybody agrees that it's worth $500 or whatever other amount. But anyway.
All right.
Like I want to ask like one question back, like before you're like talking about like VR and like how's that getting better and better, like this sounds like all like from kind of like a Matrix movie, right? That we're gonna live in like 5 years, we're gonna live like in you just put on the glasses, I mean, and that's it, or like the headset, and you'll be like like you could like trade like virtually, like you could like live in this kind of like world and so on.
Yeah, get intravenous food and intravenous alcohol and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to end up this way, but anyway, maybe for some people it will. But I think like people have the tendency to kind of project in a very linear way, sort of that, okay, there are these technologies available, and now we're going to end up in this dystopian sort of scenario. But we know, as from an anthropological stance, if you had any doubts that people want to be with other people, you can just look at the COVID situation over the past year and a half. Like, yeah, you can sit at home and so on, but just for so much time. You want to meet other people, ultimately, you want to have a beer. And if you want to have a beer, come to Reveries when we open.
No, but like also like one question, like I thought, I mean, where was I going with these questions? Like then like you could be like immortal, right? You could just, if you could like upload your conscience to like some kind of like network, right? You could be like immortal, like you
I guess, but this is a complex
yeah, it is a complex, yeah. It's just more like philosophical question.
The human brain is sort of a fucked up place. I don't know how they would upload anything like that.
But if they do, I will buy 1% of your consciousness.
Okay. But then we will end up in a singularity, so you don't have to buy anything. You just connect to like this Neuralink or stuff, you know. Matrix activated, give me some kung fu skills or whatever. Yeah, rent kung fu skills for an hour, rent piano skills for a date. I don't know. Maybe I can play the piano for an hour. Good.
Well, in the virtual world, actually, this is actually something that will become a reality in games, you know. Yeah. You rent a skill to go defeat a monster. It's not that much of a difference, you know.
Yeah, but you know, within these sort of, if you open the economies within games, you know, it really opens up a lot of possibilities to reflect what is in the real world. Like, if I need to get from point A to B, I either, you know, if I want to go from Ljubljana to Bled, I can have my car to go, or I can use a car sharing service. So I can use a sword sharing service, I don't know, or some gear sharing service, and just for that specific time when I'm playing, rent a certain gear from somebody who is sleeping, and instead of it, so that actually equalizes a little bit the economics of the game. So not just you know, specific strata of people have the best gear, but that specific strata of people also might be interested to put that gear for rent, you know, when you're playing, and you would pay, I don't know, maybe for every second that you're using that that gear, and maybe it's good for you because you can you know, you have to make your economic calculations in that specific game.
But earlier you were talking about items going across games, like you could have buy in one game and play it in the other. So how would that look like? You're playing a game, you get a sword. I mean, you use that sword in another game, but that actually, game doesn't maybe have a sword or looks different.
Yeah, it could look different, but let's say that same item. In the case of NFTs, you have, let's say right now, for the sake of the experiment, they were doing, you know, these clunky games. They're not really high quality ones, but they show you what is possible. And basically, if you have, let's say, a certain skin, your character looks like that in that game. This same skin, if you log on to another game, and it has like totally different style of graphics, it's similar to how it looks in the other game, but in the style of graphics within that other game.
But then you would have to have like some items that are allowed and some items that aren't. Like if
some are, some aren't, which is not bad. I mean, it depends like how they set up the rules. And if like if let's say Epic Games is now investing in this metaverse stuff, and they have a line of games in which you have a skin in one and it will be the same in the other, with different, I mean, kind of thematically customized to that specific game, you would still have that skin as well. And for them, there's I mean, I think it would be kind of interesting because people, it would draw traffic not just to one game, but to others as well.
Exactly. So sorry to jump in. If it's still in the realm of Epic Games, you know, you could still call it a closed ecosystem. But what could happen if they put up an open marketplace? You know, an indie studio can launch a game that takes advantage of the same assets, you know, and the swords and the skins that the Epic game threw out, and the players have them, and indie studio is reusing those same assets in their game in a certain way. You know? So it could go out of the Epic ecosystem, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they could make I don't know, partnerships with other gaming studios. Maybe they want to keep it, but it's really up to them. Like you know, whatever they want to do, they can do.
How much control would the studios have over these items? Like, if a studio wanted to say, like, this sword, you can have this sword, but you should be like level 40 to use it. Is that possible, or is this item fully owned by the player? And
it's back to Tom's programmable money/programmable assets type of thing. They can input any rules that they want on any asset. You know, if it's level 40, yeah, you're not level 40 within that game, you cannot use this thing. Maybe you achieved it in another game and you were level 40 in that game and you can use this asset. But if you transfer it to the another game, you have to level up to 40 to use it, which is the incentive to kind of play that game.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this actually opens like a lot of like game design ideas, right? Because like how I imagine it, like, you know, you would play, let's say, Stardew Valley, right? And you farm there, I don't know, you farm like, I don't know, some crops, and you farm, you gather the food, right? And then you supply this food to, I don't know, some game like Call of Duty, right? Like on the battlefield, right? And you supply it to like to armies, or I don't know, and then you play some RTS or whatever, right? And you have this kind of like maybe chain or like community that would be like cross game, right? Like you have like alliance and alliance like cross game, like, you know, or guild cross games, right?
Yeah, those who love farming, let them play farming simulator, and they sell the assets or transfer the assets to somebody who needs to feed an army. You know?
Yeah, it becomes the metaverse becomes more complex, but it's also more interesting. So sort of why not? You know, if farming simulator, you know, give somebody a boner, why not? You know, let them play it. And then they can transfer the stuff to other people in another game, and these other people would use it.
But could you, like, as a game studio, could you lock the item in a way that would say only if you get it in our game can you use it?
Yes,
that's also possible.
You can. It's like this conditionality is an open field for you know, as I said, like. You program this asset in the way that you want it to function. Whether you want it to function across games or within the single game, or across games but in different forms, or conditionality on level, or conditionality on some title within the game. I mean, you can have all of that, and probably more, like whatever conditional things you can think of, you can put them in these smart contracts and basically reflect the logic of usage of these things.
Can you lose the item? You know, like if a game is said that if you die, you lose your items. Would that have to be in the contract? And if you play, then you actually lose it?
It can be. You can you know, in certain games, if you are operating at a certain level of not level difficulty level, let's say you choose nightmare mode, I don't know, and in nightmare mode, if you die you lose everything. Well, that's what you signed up for, and you will lose everything.
And where do these items go then?
They go to a burn contract, which burns them essentially, and they're not to be retrieved.
So they're removed from this chain.
Yeah, or they can go also into some kind of escrow account, and you have like a countdown of 10 days that you can rebuy them at a specific price. And then if you don't, then they get sent to a burn contract.
Okay.
And then they're out of circulation. So basically the supply of that item decreases, and it will be announced for everybody that, you know, this legend here lost, and you know, there's no more. I mean, this gear disappeared from the game, and that's it.
One idea that I think I found, like, I think like 1 or 2 years ago, like it was on these extra credit channels. They were also like talking about these kind of like legends. Now you're talking about like, and they're talking about like that also kind of like metaverse, or like maybe like cross trading stuff. So that you would have like, let's say you would have like one sword, right? Let's say one sword, and like some really good, I don't know, like professional player would, I don't know, would slay, I don't know, Ragnaros with that sword, right? And it would kind of like engrave in this blockchain, like, I don't know, like this guy, like it would like actually kind of engraved a legend inside this. Yeah.
Historical record of
And
somebody doing this stuff. So I think it will be getting kind of closer and closer to this whole concept of, I mean, Ready Player One, open metaverse, all the elements of pop culture. Whoever wants to contribute can contribute to that thing. And I think what Epic Games is trying to do that right now. I mean, they're researching into that, and I think ultimately they will achieve it, maybe in a couple of years.
And also I think, like as I said, like also I think before, like people like give, I mean, people like give idea of value to different things, right? And maybe a question here would be like, what do you think, like, or what will be, or what is like the craziest, like, you know, idea, or like what was the craziest idea for, like, that somebody put on like non-fungible token on that idea of like of value? Did you maybe like
the craziest? I don't know. I mean, I kind of operate in crazy land anyway, so I don't perceive much things as crazy. I mean, I guess I'm crazy myself, but
or maybe like unusual, or like not so mainstream. Let's say not so mainstream. That I think that's better word for this.
Okay. Well, not so mainstream, but that's totally different question. I think the next wave of innovation with this NFT stuff would be in the gaming industry, 100%. And you know, it's not crazy, but then people will see. I mean, the mainstream consumer of information, they were not. It's not like crazy things in art were not happening. It's not like you know, some square or black square on a white background was not being sold for tens of millions. You know, it's just that the mainstream people, they were not exposed to that information for the most part. But now when people when they see like, oh, some digital picture got sold for X amount, they're like, oh, this is crazy, completely crazy. Well, what difference does it make if it's a digital picture or if it's just like a square on a white background that got sold for, you know? Is it really such a big difference in cost of producing one or the other? It's not. Like, it's just kind of linked to a specific artist. You are not buying the art piece for the raw material that it was used, you know, was used to produce it. You are buying into a brand, you are buying into an idea, you are buying into a meme, whatever, but certainly not into the raw material that was used to produce it. So there will be a lot of things that are perceived as crazy by the mainstream, but with, let's say, the, you know, this kind of philosophical approach, I don't think they are crazy. I mean, people are crazy in general, like general society. So you can either accept it or you can be like, oh, you know, kind of criticizing it. Both ways are fine, you know, but I'd rather monetize on this craziness. That's my approach.
Yeah, I have to like kind of like go in this direction, or like maybe like poke, like, because I saw like somebody like mentioning that you could also like put like non-fungible token on a tweet, right, to make it kind of like it's like unique. It's I mean, and then like you could like sell this like I think uniqueness or whatever. You'd say like that it's only like it's the first one, like only one exists, right? And then again we are here like this idea like how much does that actually value, right? And then people, I guess, will buy it. Maybe like first tweet of Obama, or
if somebody is willing to pay the price, if people agree that you know, we have a community that perceives this stuff, the tweets, as valuable stuff, yeah, why not? I mean, it's up to them to decide. So I don't really criticize people for that. I just try to find opportunity in it, as I said.
Yeah, I was also trying to like also like steer in this, like if you see like any like more opportunities besides like art and gaming, and I guess like finance, like there like any other like means, like how would you like put value or like put like this originality or like on some of the other like mediums or like some other like
any kind of creator online will get the tools to monetize his work through this medium, whether it is NFTs or whatever. There are certain examples of I mean functional platforms actually of blogs, people that produce I mean they write content, okay, well, it's text content, and the only way that you can access this content, when you open the page is closed. You have a Web3 wallet, like let's say MetaMask, and the only way it opens is if in that wallet you have like 500 tokens of that person. Of he issued certain tokens, so the subscription fee, so to say, it's not a subscription fee. It's just like there are tokens on the market that this person issued. Let's say there's 1 million of them. Okay, you have to get 500 to get to access his content, and it's a there are it's a functional product. So whether that kind of economic model succeeds, I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe not. But I'm saying that every type of creator online, digital or not, will get certain tools to monetize his work online. Whether it's a gamer or I don't know, a wood maker, whatever else. Like if they're putting some content out there, YouTube channel, whatever, they can they will get the tools to monetize their efforts, which are tools that remove intermediaries, which is what this whole thing is all about. So in the case of NFTs, first, I mean, I think, what was it, in October last year, I went to Milan with some of my partners and realized there what this art industry was all about, in a sense. Like, we went to meet with some galleries and then learned that the artists in these galleries are minimum charged like 35% commission by the gallery, going up to 90%, depending on the artist, depending on the gallery. So this is a similar thing happens in the music industry. You get a label, the label is making most of the money. You are getting peanuts. And so is the case with every industry that has like an agency on which you rely to push you into the market. And these people are getting now a medium to, for the most part, monetize for themselves. I mean, they went from, I don't know, paying 35 to 90% to the agency to actually paying 5%. And they have encoded in these assets royalties, which is the thing that you reach when you are like a top-notch artist. Basically, if you are a rock star artist, you can bargain a deal with the gallery that whenever your work is sold on the secondary market, you are getting 10% royalties. But not for everyone. But in this case, in the crypto art market, you put it in the NFT smart contract. Whenever this amount is paid to buy this NFT, the artist is receiving 10, 20, 30% back. It's like you just have to put the royalty yourself. And the same thing will also happen in gaming. In gaming, artists will be developing, I mean, digital artists will be customizing skins. I mean, they would be like, okay, here's Fortnite, for example. I'm going to make a skin. and I'm going to put it out there on the market. People bought it, people resold it, the artist is receiving money. So it's like, from my perspective, it's just interesting dynamics for creators, removing useless middlemen.
That's very interesting, yeah. And what do you think, like, maybe that's a stupid question, but what do you think that needs to happen, like that's that kind of like knowledge, or like would like come to like mass, like to mass media, or like to
it will eventually. There's nothing to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it will eventually in its due course. It's just that you know, you either realize it early or you realize it a bit late. But anyway, I think in general there's a tendency in the world for things that can be interconnected to interconnect, and things that, let's say, are like parasites in a certain industry to at some point ultimately be removed as a matter of like increasing efficiency and fairness in the market. When you leave it to like a free open market, you know, these things happen. Sometimes there are you know, at certain snapshots in time, some markets are abused, but ultimately they converge to something that's better. Because once you see that, oh, there's problems happening in here. Actually, if you see it, it's a good sign. Like, at least you can address the problem. If the industry is opaque and you cannot see the problem, then you have nothing to complain about, which is actually bad. I mean, with these environmentalists that were, let's say, complaining about, oh, NFTs, you know, minting them is so like, you know, not environmentally friendly. They just need so much energy consumption. They don't think about you know, the fact that they are looking at something that is absolutely transparent. They can calculate in here the carbon footprint. But if they think about somebody painting, you know, in his studio, they don't think about, I mean, you cannot track the chain really of the carbon footprint, because that requires you to kind of look at, okay, how did this paint arrive at my place? I mean, it was shipped from somewhere to somewhere. Now this paint had like some energy put into producing it. This canvas, the same thing. But people, when they see transparently, oh, that was the impact, you know. Well, if you're buying a chocolate off the shelf of the of Mercator, I don't know, of some supermarket, you know, you don't think about, you know, how it arrived there and what kind of effort. Maybe it was like I don't know, maybe some children were collecting the you know, cocoa. I mean the
Cacao.
I mean, cacao beans in Africa, and maybe it was like child labor, slavery, whatever. But they don't think about these things because they are not given the information. So all of these claims of like, oh, cryptocurrencies are so bad for the environment, or NFTs are so bad for the environment, these claims are complete bullshit. Because if you look at cryptocurrencies and what kind of problem they're trying to solve, basically, if it's like, you know, finance stuff, well, okay, look at the banks, how many branches you have in there, how many people you have in there working, doing useless jobs for the most part, that can be substituted by a protocol, you know. So shall we remove all the banks because they have a huge environmental impact? I think we should. Anyway, I'm just joking, but you know, this is my perspective on the topic. Because you will hear a lot of stuff coming in next. Once this stuff will be in gaming, oh, the gamers are so evil because they are using these NFTs to transfer these assets and whatever. And it's like bullshit.
That's interesting perspective. I mean, like when you look on the like the, I think like a lot of times we don't like look on like this kind of like a whole picture. As you said, like you cannot. I mean, it's really hard to like look on like all of the steps that go into maybe like producing like a simple stuff, right? As you said, like chocolate or like maybe coffee, right? like from where did it come, like you know, and it's really hard to like track. Or maybe like, you know, all of the bananas come from, I don't know, I think from Argentina or Costa Rica, I'm not sure, but like, you know, it's and to come from Costa Rica to Slovenia, like it takes, I don't know, like some huge tanker or like a shipment container.
So,
like
so if you address the environmentalists, you know, that's also happens to be a vegan, I don't know, they're eating a banana, and you can say to them like, why are you eating this banana? Don't you know that you're destroying the environment? Like, it had to be shipped from God knows where, and it used so much energy to get to your shop, and you're eating that banana. Oh, you bastard. You know, you can do this stuff. We can play this game endlessly, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I think what's the time? I think it's really like fruitful discussion, and I think I will like wait for a few more minutes if there are like any more questions from anybody.
Okay.
If not,
otherwise you can come to Reveries again, commercial. You can come there, and we can have these discussions there. That was the intended purpose anyway, to just kind of talk about these things and try to figure out where the stuff is heading. And if there are good ideas, well, we might as well kind of bring some money to these good ideas. Yeah. So any questions are welcome.
Maybe you already mentioned during this whole conversation, especially in the beginning. For many in the gaming industry, for many companies, they don't want to open the economy. So probably this disruption will start, like you said, from smaller studios, from more independent developers, from this kind of perspective. So likely, like from some niche, it might spread in. What is their incentive? Do you think they will start this for the sake of, okay, some will definitely start for the sake of money, I guess, no? Putting a transaction fee on everything they create and go for it. Do you think, are there already out there some groups that are doing this for the sake of the purpose, for the values that they see in this? You know, the personal value they have. Are there already any groups that are heading in this direction?
Yes. I mean, the first games that popped up in this, let's say, crypto community, Axie Infinity is actually one of the main ones, and because it has like interesting game dynamics. It's not just about breeding, like in the case of CryptoKitties. You have like PvP, you have daily quests, you have like the dungeons and whatever, and you know, it's quite a substantial game. It became quite big in this market. I mean, okay, 200,000 users, but all of these 200,000 users are paying good amount of money. That they are trading these you know, axes, these monsters, you know, with which they play. They are trading these potions in there, and basically the company itself is making I mean, let me put it in perspective. This company that created this game, you know, they have something like 15 employees, you know, and they're making something like $500,000 per day. It's not bad. Not bad.
in for the money, you say? Yeah.
Yeah. So there is the ultimately kind of, let's look at it this way: incentive of greed pushes people into coming into these types of market, and then we will see what happens next in terms of like you know, quality of games, or you know, the types of games. But essentially, you have an opportunity to make money. There's nothing bad about doing it. You know, come and make money. What's the problem? Create some things that are useful for people and that they enjoy, and that's it. You have a business.
If that's all of the questions, then I guess thank you, George. Again, it was really like quite lengthy discussion. And I think like you touched on a lot of like topics like today. And yeah, as what George mentioned before, like we'll also be sending all of like materials that you can like read on, like and like further explore. And yeah, I think without that we will finish here the live stream, and we see you on our like Discord, where we'll have like just casual like mingling and chat. And I hope we see you like all like next month. At Reveries, yeah. I hope at Reveries like next month. That is super cool.
And buy the Cyber NFT. Also. It will be a good experiment for you, to kind of try this NFT stuff.
For sure. And yeah, I think that's all, and see you soon.